But what I want to bring to people's attention is that realize that that ethos of colorblindness, that ethics of racelessness, when presented or maybe even projected upon African American boys of a certain age, they're not buying that. And that causes problems. That causes problems of embracing some of these negative image stereotypes, and it also causes a problem maybe of effacing one's blackness because one does not want to be associated at all with anything reminiscent of race. So my point is that as teachers, administrators, in fact, we need to be aware of what some of these behaviors that I heard about recently about boys getting in trouble here, boys of color getting in trouble, boys of color sort of sticking out too much or standing out, being called into the office, etc. Whatever some of that behavior is, I'm sure that some of it can be boiled down to some of these issues here in terms of perception, in terms of this ethics of racelessness and color blindness. Here's a quote from Terence, Publius Terentius Afer. Homo sum, humani nil, a me alienum puto. I am a man, and nothing human is alien to me. At heart, I think I'm a humanist of the 16th century, in the sense believing that these differences, these categories, these divisions and divisiveness that were the result of natural historians and anthropologists of the 18th century in the period of Enlightenment, ironically, that these things stand in the way of connecting with what we all have in common, and that's the fact that we're Homo sapiens sapiens. And so, I don't know what has happened or what is happening to humanism in that sense. We disconnect and we believe we don't even make an effort, a bona fide effort, to try to connect because difference is all over the place. Even with difference of the new difference or the good difference of multi-ethnicity and multi-raciality, we're so caught up and stuck up on difference that we still, I believe, do injustice to things that we all share in common, but which we problematize and we differentiate for no good reason.
A lot of race and or class issues are sort of subconscious within us, and I'm wondering how we as instructors in a school can learn to recognize our own biases when we don't necessarily know that they're there. You know, it's not conscious. Because I think that it seems to me like that's the biggest problem, is that people are in denial of their own, you know, they don't even realize what's going on with them. Like, where can we go and how can we check ourselves as teachers?
Have the 5 E's. I like acronyms. E's. 5 E's. The first one is education. First of all, you have it easy. We all have it easy as teachers, as educators, because we have an institution and kids have to take classes. And they show up regularly, hopefully. So the curriculum is the best way in which to bring about a consciousness and a change of these issues. We don't even have to call them problems, but of these issues, of these concerns, is first of all by education. First of all, it's through the curriculum, but before that, about self-directed study. Right? As teachers, we have to be, if you don't understand sort of what has happened, say, to African American boys or African American people since arriving in America in 1619, then there's no way that you can, you need to see the longue durée. You need to see this thing from 1619 to 2010, and that is African American history, not just in February. The other day I just posted my 100th Black History Jot on Facebook just for that purpose. I only have 420 characters, but I have 100 of those 420 character slots about Black history. I think the first things that we have to understand in depth, not just from the 60s, not just from the 70s, not from the 80s, but what about from 1619 to 2010? What has been the experience of the people, of these boys that I'm teaching? What have their people experienced? How are they seeing their life in America? You can't get around that. The only way you can do that is becoming aware of what the history, and that's not Black history. It's not African American history. It's American history. That's another fallacy that we have, that there's a different history. There's Latino American history, there's Asian American history, there's African American history, and then there's American history. Bullshit. It's all one history. The omissions and deletions, that's what American history is. American history is a deficiency. American history is what's left over after you take all the other histories out.